up? What's up? What's up? Make sure you guys hit that like button, please, and thank you on the way in.
Nothing bad can happen. It can only good happen. They're just getting acclimated. You know what that means, acclimated?
What do you say we just dive into the mud? Let's just dive right on into the mud, ladies and gentlemen. How you doing? I'm Boston Brian. Welcome back for the second edition of today's episodes. I appreciate you for joining me. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. Let's say hi to the chat. How's everybody doing? What's up, Mozart? What's up, Allie? How are you? What's up, Gamer? What's up, Victor? How are you, my brother? Jupiter Judy, Mr. Android, maybe tomorrow. Let's fucking go. Michael McAndrews, what's up, my dude? Mr. Android again. Let's see here. Oh, Andrew, how are you, brother? Let's see here. Andrew, Roxanne, you guys are incredible. I appreciate you guys for joining me. Evie's aunt, Linda Lou, let's fucking go. Candy, how are you? What's up, Jim? What's up, Flipper? What's up, Phyllis? Alyosha? All right, hit that like on the way in. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I should just throw this right on the board. I guess there's probably no reason to beat around the bush. Let's see if I can do this in some rapid fashion, which is what I'm not known for. Yeah, so this just came out. What was this, 10 minutes ago, roughly at this point in time? Donald Trump we just kind of get down to brass tacks where he says here, because I have just signed the bill to release the Epstein files. As everyone knows, I asked Speaker of the House Mike Johnson and Senate Majority Leader John Thune to pass this bill in the House and the Senate, respectively. Is that why that Mike Johnson said before, when he was running away from the cameras, that both he and you both had concerns, deep concerns about this? But yeah, so let me just read what he wrote. Jeffrey Epstein, who was charged by the Trump Justice Department in 2019, not the Democrats, was a lifelong Democrat, donated thousands of dollars to the Democrat politicians, and was deeply associated with many well-known Democrat figures such as Bill Clinton, who traveled on his plane 26 times, Larry Summers, sleazebag, political activist Reid Hoffman, Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries, who asked Epstein to donate to his campaign after Epstein was charged, Democratic Congresswoman Stacey Plaskett, and many more. Perhaps the truth about these Democrats and their associations with Jeffrey Epstein will soon be revealed, because I have just signed that bill to release the Epstein files. And then I'm sure he goes on to, I'm just assuming, I haven't read this, to tout his accomplishments, his fake and phony accomplishments. Yeah, here's the bill. Yep, the tax cut. Where's he talking about the wars? Does he talk about the wars? And he wasn't. I'm sure the wars are in here. So yeah, here's 8 wars, ending 8 wars. He's in here rebuilding the mill. Yep, there he goes, another one of them. And then he goes on to talk about the hottest country. He's got to throw that in there as usual. Russia, Ukraine, impeachment hoax 1, impeachment hoax 2. So. But this doesn't yet give us really, I think now they have, 30 days, it said, but this kind of just brings in this to effect, right? Where a lot of people have been pointing this out, or have been quick to point this out. See if I can make this a little bigger on your screen. It seems like they were able to, when we were talking about this morning, this morning, we were talking about how Mike Johnson wasn't able to kind of sneak in his provisions, wasn't allowed to sneak in his loopholes. But I might have been wrong on one, because this is saying that the Epstein file bill grants Attorney General Pam Bondi the authority to, quote, withhold or redact any material that could endanger, quote, national security, which we talked about earlier when Mike Johnson brought that up, or, quote, jeopardize any active federal investigation, right? So whether or not they could just either, talk about an ongoing investigation, or open up their own investigations in order to put a stop to this, or, that Donald Trump maybe knows that Pam Bondi's going to kind of overstep her boundaries, in terms of how much she can withhold or redact in this manner. It's kind of strange that all of a sudden, It's kind of strange that all of a sudden this has been happening at rapid pace. And there's got to be something going on behind the scenes that they're sure of, whether or not they're going to defy the 30-day order, or, something else is happening behind the scenes. But a lot of people talking about this little part in it as well, where it says the Attorney General may withhold or redact the segregable portions of records that contain personally identifiable information of victims, or victims' personal and medical files of similar files, disclosure of which would constitute a clearly unwarranted invasion of personal privacy. C, would jeopardize an active federal investigation investigation or ongoing prosecution, provided that such withholding is narrowly tailored and temporary, which is what I think Thomas Massey was actually questioned about, and that's what his response was in a recent broadcast on with one of the major news networks, where he just basically said, where yes, she does have this authority, but it's supposed to be narrowly tailored, and I do emphasize supposed to be narrowly tailored to the investigations and temporary. But I don't see anything in here kind of suggesting or defining what temporary means, right? Shall declassify. So this is A, if the Attorney General makes a determination that the covered information may not be declassified and made available in a manner that protects the national security of the United States, including methods or sources related to national security, which is what we were questioning earlier, like how this could possibly relate to national security. But there are some MAGA conspiracy theories floating around out there that I did manage to find, and we'll take a look at a few of them coming up here. But the Attorney General shall release the unclassified summary for each of the redacted or withheld classified information. All decisions to classify any information, any covered information after July 1st, 2025 shall be punished in the Federal Register and submitted to Congress, included the date of classification, the identity of the classifying authority, and an unclassified summary of the justification. So after July 1st, 2025, all decisions to classify any covered information after July 1st, 2025 shall be published in the Federal Register and submitted to Congress. Date strikes me as odd, but yeah, I don't see anything kind of defining what temporary means. So I see still possible avenues as to this being abused by Pam Bondi. But again, we're just gonna have to wait and see. As Donald Trump said, in case you're just joining us, let me throw this back on the screen for everybody to see. Donald Trump now, if you can see, just in the middle of his shitty little message that he's got here, signed, where he says, "Because I have just signed the bill to release the Epstein files." Again, nothing in here to suggest as to when that's supposed to be, when in the next 30 days that's supposed to be, but I'm sure they're in absolutely no rush. But yeah, I mean, that remains to be seen. But like we were talking about earlier, and again, yeah, we'll get onto a ton of other stories related to this. And also, just for Nancy, we're going to be diving into, I guarantee to make sure that we leave enough time to dive into, what's happening, the latest in Ukraine, because they just went through another deadly round of strikes, in Kyiv and in other areas, killing, a good many Ukrainian people in the process. So, all right, let me see. Hold on. Let me see. Something beeped. I was curious. Is everything good? Everything's good. All right. So I hate random beeps. And I always think something's going wrong when there's random beeps. All right. So let me just see if I can put this on the old screen as well, because we got clips from like Tim Pool. We can look just at the video headlines from people like Candace Owens, and there's Valhalla dude that we've been looking at a lot to try to get like a sense of where this MAGA battle is going, and along the lines of whether or not Pam Bondi is going to release these files in their entirety, or why they might be bringing up this, national security threat posture. Let me just throw this on the screen, because we'll just do this first, because there's not much that we have to get through in this one. It's just more, looking at this. So this is, again, one of the MAGA creators we've been taking a look at. In case you're new to the channel, if you've just been joining us, this is somebody that we like to, or have been recently, kind of just referencing their channel, along with others. Candace Owens, there's another one in here that's Purge TV, just kind of doing the rounds, trying to, do my research in the background to see what these, not only the well-known platforms, but also the lesser-known platforms are saying, and how they're communicating. Another one of these, let me see if I can do this. It's the first one that I've seen. I don't know if I pulled it up yet, where it actually says that, I believe the quote and the headline on it is "Trump is dead." Let me see this. Oh, excuse me. It's over, it says. It says the title of this is Nick Fuentes, "The End of Donald Trump." Excuse me, I got that backwards. I don't want to get anybody hyped up by getting it backwards the way I first said it the first time. But it's quote. Let me put this on the screen. It says Nick Fuentes, "The End of Donald Trump." Right. So this is basically the first one of these that I've seen where it's basically announcing the end of Donald Trump. Donald Trump is finished, and this is a MAGA creator. You can see here. Let's see. You can see what he's selling. Like, what are these? How do you get to his? Yeah, here's you go. So you can see, you can't even see his little merch line. I was laughing at it earlier, but it's all like America First stuff. For some reason, oh yeah, here it is. Purge Viral Shop, fourth wall. If I went to that, I'm not going to go to it because who knows what that'll bring onto my computer. But it was all like America First hats, America First shirts. Everything's in, the flag draped in stars and stripes, which is kind of odd. But this is just another one of these, lesser known accounts that we've been taking a look at to kind of, I guess, get a sense of what's going on in the MAGA universe. And this is the stuff that I've been finding more regularly is, the end of Donald Trump. Donald Trump is finished. MAGA is dead. The Civil War is risen. That type of stuff, which you hadn't, you really only saw from typically, lefty creators, people that either, label themselves liberals or progressives or leftists or whatever you fucking call yourselves, right? Typically, that's where you would see that genre, that type of thumbnail, that type of title inside the thumbnail. But it's more and more frequently becoming a fact that it's the MAGA folk. It is the Republican commentators and even, just these so-called conservative commentators that don't, align with MAGA, don't so much subscribe to MAGA or don't at least say it on their channel, but are definitely followed and watched by a heavily, a MAGA influence based, right? So this is just another one of them where he says the real files will never be released. He goes on to play a clip of Massey, pretty much kind of agrees with a lot of what, Massey has to say as far as, locking up these rich, powerful people that, have for this long been able to evade prosecution, evade, justice in this, evade their accountability. But he goes on here. Let me see if I can kind of play a minute of this for you guys.
They need to be on the other side of bars, a lot of them. Some of them will be embarrassed, but some of them need to go to prison, and the survivors know that. So how will we know if this bill has been successful? We will know when there are men, rich men in handcuffs being perp walked to the jail.
Right, and again, to totally agree with everything he's talking about, but if we skip ahead here, he's going to start talking about why he believes that we're not actually going to get to see the files, and his conspiracy theory, I'll spill the beans here so you know what you're getting ready for, you know what you're getting in for here. He actually, I don't know how crazy this is because it's been speculated before, but he believes that the reason we're not actually going to see the files and anything that we do see is probably just going to be mundane, is because that Jeffrey Epstein was somehow in some way working as an asset for the CIA, for the United States government in one way or another, which is what they're convinced of. Again, it's been speculated by many people as to him working for other foreign governments, but now they're going on to say that it's the government of the United States covering up for the government of the United States. See if he says it there. Check this out.
For no reason, all of a sudden, overnight, kumbaya come together and all unanimously vote to release the files. I wonder why. Oh, because there was fine print in the files we didn't read. Our politicians are very, very crafty, and we're going to talk about that in the video today. On
what he's referencing is Pam Bondi's the one, the clip that I just showed you, that little Twitter thing that I just showed you about that, the little addendum that says that Pam Bondi has this power to withhold or redact things that she deems too close to an investigation, yada yada yada, and he thinks that it's basically going to be all redacted, like she's going to overstep her boundaries like everybody else, but because she's covering up for the United States government and Jeffrey Epstein's involvement with the United States. What do you guys think as far as that's concerned? Do you think he was working for the CIA as well as Mossad? Or do you think this is one of those outlandish right-wing conspiracy theories? I'll let you guys debate that in the chat. Let's see here.
You and I will never, ever see the real version of the Epstein files. So
he's still not buying MAGA's bullshit. He's still not buying the Republicans' bullshit. He's still not buying the bullshit of Pam Bondi or Donald Trump. But it's because he believes, what he's about to tell you now. Not so much that he believes that these people are scumbags, but they're like cowed. They're in a position where they have to cover up for the federal government because they can't release the information. And he goes to point on to what Mike Johnson said the other day in his press conference, which we brought up on this show, to kind of, suggest that's why he thinks he's right.
Comment, subscribe, helps the channel.
No, don't do that. I always say don't do that.
Files, or at least the important stuff with the fine print that they put in the bill. And then last, we're going to talk about the most important thing that none of the mainstream media wants to talk about. And what all of this really centers around at the end of the day is the fact that he was an intelligence asset. And we'll show.
Right. So we don't have to go into much more of the video. He just kind of goes on to try to figure out, or to try to give you his reasoning as to why he thinks that both Pam Bondi are still going to withhold the most credible, the most detailed, the most dirty of information that's supposed to be released, because she's trying to cover up for the United States government. But let me see what you guys are saying in the chat. I'm curious what you guys are thinking. Because a lot of people, like I said, I've heard a lot of speculation throughout the years of him working for different foreign governments, different agencies, and who knows? Because if the United States government comes out and it's found to have had prior knowledge, in detailed knowledge of what the hell was going on, but did nothing. That could be a definite worldwide story that people would love to get their hands on. Let's just say, but that's just coming from these ears. But it continues because it's people like Tim Pool as well. We bring up these different people to reference, and this one is saying now Candace Owens says Charlie Kirk assassination reeks of inside job. So what have we been saying here on Blunt Politics? That when you talk about the MAGA civil war, the MAGA rift, the split in MAGA, that we could bring it back to three different things. You could bring it back to either Israel, anti or pro-Israel factions. You can bring it back to either Charlie Kirk and what the conspiracy theories behind that, or the Epstein file. So in the first one here, we saw this is relating to the Epstein file. So this is creating the rift in MAGA. Some don't, this is this gentleman here is just, for one example, not believing what Donald Trump or Pam Bondi is saying. It's for his own reasoning and what he believes. But again, there's other people inside the MAGA base that also aren't buying what Kash Patel, Pam Bondi, Dan Bongino, and Donald Trump are saying, because they just don't believe what the hell they're saying, because they're listening and looking at these reports. They're looking at the files with Donald Trump's name on them. They're looking at the past evidence of Donald Trump with Jeffrey Epstein, and then just putting two and two together. So that's creating it. And now we got here with Tim Pool is the Charlie Kirk side of the MAGA civil war, right? This three-part civil war that's going on. This is the Charlie Kirk side, where, Candace Owens is now forcing people to either pick a side. They're either going to have to call her out, or they're going to join forces with her and agree with her theories that she's got going on here. And I don't know what's probably more entertaining to play, is Tim Pool trying to kind of, go over and talk about Candace Owens' video, or if it's more funny just to play Candace Owens' video. Like just the beginning of it in her conspiracy theory on this one, which I believe has to do with the planes. I don't know if anybody remembers during the Charlie Kirk incident, there was this theory that there was a plane that didn't take off when it was supposed to have. I forget what the exact details were, but let me see if I can find this. I know I played it somewhere. Yeah, her video here is titled "Snakes on a Plane."
A fuel stop, right? Nobody's
right?
like, let me.
Snakes on a plane. Charlie Kirk and the crossing of the Delaware. In the thumbnail title was "Snakes on a Plane," and I'll just play this short. I don't know. It's probably like 30-second. Intro that she plays talking about her theory that she's got here. So check out this wild theory that Candace Owens is now throwing out there to say that she has credible evidence of. Yeah, she's saying that she's got credible evidence of, and she did her due diligence. But check this one out. This is the most recent one thrown out there by Candy Owie.
All right, you guys. So we received a couple of weeks ago a very thorough tip regarding Charlie's assassination and the Egyptian planes. Now, what is even more compelling about this tip is that this individual who works with or for government sent it before I had figured out that the Egyptian planes were tracking Erica and Charlie. Now, the individual also focused on something that at first seems to me to be very micro to the situation, and now it seems quite macro. And it's an answer perhaps to the question, what was the Egyptian military plane, which left Provo on the morning of Charlie's assassination, doing in Delaware? Actually, we should figure that out. Welcome back to Candace.
So that's now it's the plane. That's this inside information that she's got from somebody that she doesn't know quite who they work for. It could be with somebody in a government or not government, but we don't know quite who it's working for. But yeah, that Tim Pool decided to jump on. Let me see here. Tim Pool decided to jump on that gravy train and decided to try to call that one out. I haven't seen any of his videos. So let me see if I can get back to what he had to say. I just want to see if he's for it, against it. I'm not 100% certain. Not 100% certain. Am I going to be able to pull it up again? Now we're going to have to find it. No, I shouldn't. I should just go back another one. What the fuck is it? Now I got to find it again because I was dumb enough. Oh, here it is. Here you go. Here you go.
I was just say this
screen
too.
for you guys.
I think a lot of the people who are
Right, so I'm just going to play the beginning of this. So we're not going to dive into too much of this, but just to kind of give you, a grasp, a little taste of what's going on with these different MAGA beefs. And I don't know, we might even have the trifecta in this one because we got the, we got the Epstein, we got the Charlie Kirk assassination, and there might be something else in here about Israel. If not, I guarantee you Candace Owens at one point in her video brought up some sort of Israel connection to kind of make this, the trifecta. But yeah, this is Candace Owens says Charlie Kirk assassination reeks of inside job, right divided, featuring the quartering. So they also talk about how the right is being dividing, and this kid on the right-hand side does his best to kind of delude himself into believing that there's no actual rift in MAGA going on. It's just like all the people that were on the outside trying to, again, eat the center of it, I guess. So let's take a look at just a minute or two of this, and then we'll dive into the IHIP ladies, and then we'll get into some of our other clips that we want to take a look at. But I appreciate you guys. Hit that like button. I'm Boston Brian. This is Blunt Politics, and these guys are morons.
Who are talking about this were never this mega fracture. They were never mega anyway. You can look at Nick, who actively said, "Hey, I'm going to get Yang Gang. I'm going to get other people." We
So
don't.
this is, ladies and gentlemen, this is what you call cope. Okay, just in case you haven't tasted it before, this is the MAGA tears in the cup that tastes so good. This is that cope that everybody loves to feed off of. This is what this is. This is like, oh yeah, they were never MAGA. They were never pro-Trump. These people, I guarantee if you look, they never even voted for Trump. And anybody that voted for Trump, I guarantee is still going to vote for Trump. And nobody's fighting as he's on Tim Pool's show, kind of arguing with the other side of the base that does feel the way he says they don't feel. Right, so it's kind of he's doing a disservice to his own rhetoric. He's doing a disservice to his own point that he's trying to make by going on to Tim Pool's to kind of argue against either or for Candace Owens and her conspiracy theory or this MAGA battle that's been going on.
He actively said he's going to get his crew to not vote for Trump, endorsing Kamala, all this stuff, and then everyone's like, "Well, MAGA's got a fracture." I'm like, how many of them really voted for Trump anyway? I don't know how many of them even vote. Like, I just don't buy it. I think a lot of
they don't buy it. They're not buying this when it's even the MAGA commentators, these people that consider themselves heavily favored in the right-wing atmosphere. The real files will never be released. Again, directly going against what this administration, again, the Donald Trump administration, the Republican administration is saying and putting out there and telling the people right now, as far as what's happened, at least in the last few days. And they're not buying it. They're not believing it. So that, again, tells me that they're not too happy with what's going on. And there might be some justice. There might be some, fire where there's smoke inside of this MAGA rift. So, just to kind of bring that up, here's another one. This one's also about, this one is Laura Loomer goes nuclear on MAGA, admits they have a big Nazi problem. Right. So now even within the most like ridiculous and degenerate of cult-like figures inside the MAGA base, they're even starting to get on the others in the MAGA base. Like Laura Loomer now saying that MAGA has a Nazi problem is pretty funny. And there's also, I think there's something in here about Donald Trump's polling as well. So I'm just going to play a few minutes of this for you guys. And again, this is the I've Had It podcast titled Laura Loomer goes nuclear on MAGA, admits they have a big Nazi problem. Which, again, we've known for a long, long time, but it's funny to hear themselves now recognizing it because, I don't know, it sounds to me like Laura Loomer's a little frightened, a little scared at where the MAGA base is, where the Republican Party is right now heading into midterms, and they know, or she knows, or at least is putting it out there to make it look like she knows that if they don't kind of, slice that, the bigoted, racist, homophobic type out there, stop them from representing the Republican Party, that they're going to be in some serious trouble. They're not going to be able to claw back any of this ground that they've lost recently. So again, let's just play this for a couple minutes and then we'll get into our next clip. I appreciate you guys.
The MAGA movement, the president of the United States, Kanks, the entire organization is in shambles, civil war, polling completely underwater, and the Democrats are on the rise. So much so that just a generic ballot for the midterms shows the Dems up plus 13. Kylie, pop this up. New polling from
just in case anybody's just listening for the time being, she's showing on screen a Midas Touch post titled, and it says, new polling from Marist shows Democrats holding a 14-point lead nationally on the 2026 generic congressional ballot, 55% to 41%. And this says it's from NPR, PBS News, Marist poll, registered polls, interviews conducted November 10th through November 13th, 2025. Plus or minus 3.1 percentage points. Total may not add to 100% due to rounding. But then again, this is very telling because a lot of people, and she'll go on to kind of pretty much reiterate this same point, but a lot of people have been discussing the incredibly low polling numbers by Democrats lately. And we here on Blunt Politics and everybody in the chat has been kind of pointing to the fact that it's because they want to see more fight. They want to see more grit. They want to see more aggression. They want to see more passion and people stepping up and being able to combat these people on a day-to-day basis, as opposed to kowtowing, reaching across the aisle and getting absolutely nothing for it, like we have our leaders doing now, like we had those 8 senators do, the 7 Democrats and the independent there. The same thing that they did during the government shutdown is what's going on here. But a lot of this mainstream attention is kind of trying to make it seem like, the Democrats are not popular because of what Republicans are doing, and people are more favorable towards what Republicans are doing, which is just absolute fucking horseshit, which is just shown in every single other one of the polls that we'll be taking a look at. What they think about Trump's administration on the economy, what they think about what he's doing on immigration, what they think about he's doing in, on foreign policy. Like, all of that is in the absolute shitters, right? So that goes to show, that just goes to tell us that people are so upset and angry right now with what this Trump administration is doing, and they're so upset and angry with the lack of response, or at least the lack of the response that they've deemed that they've seen from the Democrats, in and around the House and the Senate, and in politics in general, has led them to show a backlash towards the Democratic Party, to say, listen, I'm not going to sit here and vote for you. I'm actually pissed off because you don't seem to be protecting my rights. You don't seem to be protecting the brown and black people in our communities. You're at least not doing enough that I've seen to warrant me to come out in this poll to say that I'm in favor of the Democrats and what they're doing, right? Like, that's what we need to take from this, not that, the people are more favorable towards what Trump is doing and that's why the polling is so low. No, people are pissed off. They're sick and tired of sitting by on the fucking sidelines and watching this guy trample all over our systems, all over our norms, all over the Constitution, and have nobody step up and do a fucking goddamn thing about it. Even though we can still recognize that we're, on the back foot. We aren't really in the position governmentally, as far as position of power in the House, the presidency, and the, in the Senate, to do much about it. But you can still come out here and combat everything that's going on. You can still combat, rhetorically. You can still combat here and you can still come out and be aggressive. You can still be passionate. You can still call bullshit where bullshit is. You can still call assholes where they lie, right? So that's what I think people would like: more straight shooting, more straight talking, less political fucking jogging, less this, nonsense of, this speech has been looked over by 14 different people and it's been corrected 414 different times and it sounds perfect and you got to have the correct hand gestures while you're out there. No, it's just get out there, tell the American people exactly how you feel, fucking go, toe to toe with these other bastards that are trying to steal everything from the American people. And I guarantee the people will show you respect. You will see more favorable polling if you do that. And she's going to reiterate the same point here.
It shows Democrats holding a 14-point lead nationally on the 2026 generic congressional ballot, 55 versus 41. You guys, this is massive because the Democratic Party has never polled lower. That's how devastating these numbers are for MAGA. The Democratic Party.
So just think if the American people start seeing the fight, start seeing the passion, start seeing some people step up in the House, in the Senate, to that have the backs more regularly, let's say, of the American people. Right? If we start combating this bullshit at a more rapid rate, if we start getting in front of more cameras, if they start utilizing more independent media to get their message out, right? That's when the American people are going to start showing them the response, when they, show them something in return. I mean, that's how it goes. It's you scratch my back, I scratch yours. We're not just going to continually give you high praise and vote you in office if you're not going to show us results, if you're not going to show us that you're going to fight for the people that voted you in office to begin with. And that's just how it's going to work.
It's polling at its all-time lowest levels ever. And we are plus 14 on a generic ballot against these morally depraved, pedophilia protecting, blowjob giving morons, MAGA. Okay.
Using that and the historical knowledge that it's typically the party that's not in power that does well during the midterms, just think of how much of a blowout. Just think of how overwhelming the victory could be going into midterms if we continue to utilize the momentum that we've built, if we continually call out what Donald Trump is doing every single day, whether it be with, meet with fucking a murderer, whether it be siding with a murderer, whether it be going on national television to, talk bad about an American journalist that was dismembered by the man he's sitting next to. Like there's so many different wild parts, so many different wild things that, in and of themselves would be like a big enough story to break a typical administration that we just kind of have to breeze by. Like, it's just something that we talk about in a random podcast, like the MBS meeting. And it's just, we're on to the next thing because there's so many scandals. There's so much corruption. There's so much bullshit. It's hard to keep up with it all, which is basically how he gets away with all of this, by just, the Steve Bannon effect of flooding the airwaves, and eventually something's going to sneak through. You just can't combat it all, right? You just can't do it.
It gets even more delicious. Kanks is underwater on absolutely everything. He's getting his lowest polling ever. Pop this up, Kylie. He is minus.
And I think this goes a long way to prove the point that we were just making, right? So when you take a look at, the Democrats are polling extremely low. Okay, so is that, are we going to look at that as them being, favorable to Donald Trump's policies? Okay, let's take a look at that. What does that say? So no, obviously not, because he's 10 points, at least 10 points underwater on immigration, 22 points overall, 24 points on the economy, 39 points on cost of living. Right. So clearly this is not a public that is favorable towards these policies. They're absolutely outraged. They're absolutely fucking shook at this point. The same thing with the world economy. Like, you've been listening, or I've been listening to, different people around the world talking, and it's even leaked its way into different YouTube videos by, different YouTubers from around the world where, they're talking about how they're trying to budget better, or if they're car people, how the sale of cars is affected by what Donald Trump is doing and the tariffs and the instability that he's put in the market and what it could do to the price of, it's like a lot of people are now starting to have to talk about this because of the effect that it's now had worldwide on different economies, on different, businesses. It's on different sectors of the business economy. It's like crazy. So obviously people are not happy about this. And this says, while this is brutal, quote, Trump approval falls to the lowest of his term over prices and Epstein files. Reuters Ipsos poll finds Trump overall approval is 38, lowest for this pollster during the second regime, but lower in others. Just 26% of people approve of his handling of the cost of living. I'd love to know who those 26% are, but I'm sure they got a shitload of money in the bank. But this is, I think, just a good aspect, a good little graphic to prove the point that we were just making.
10 on immigration, you guys. Minus 10. This was the big thing. Remember, Fox News talked about it all the time. The migrants are coming, migrant parades, insane asylum. Hannibal Lecter, I'm going to fix it. Minus 10. Overall, he is minus 22. He's at minus 24 on the economy. And you may remember when Biden, hashtag Sleepy Joe, handed the economy to him. The Wall Street Journal, which is one of the most conservative papers in the country, said no matter who wins the presidency, they're going to inherit a fabulous economy because the inflation was going down and economic growth was at an all-time high.
Yes, and Donald Trump does what he does best, and he puts the economy in the shitters and lies about it on a daily basis to make it look like it's doing well while stuffing money at an incredible pace in his own pockets, in his family's pockets, through these corrupt dealings that he has with, again, people like, this right here. When you take a look at this handshake, it really tells you everything that you need to know. When he's speaking at the U.S.-Saudi Investment Forum, as everything that's happening in his own country is kicking off, this just goes to show and prove what he actually cares about is, again, setting himself up, setting, the same person that Jared Kushner's son-in-law got $2 billion from when he had never done anything like that. He's never handled anything close to that money. And, he was told, MBS's own financial advisors told him not to give Jared Kushner the money, and he went against them. I wonder why he did that. But yeah, we'll take a look and be diving into some of that ridiculous speech as well. So, but yeah, I appreciate the I've had it, ladies. Thank you so much for again kind of corroborating the point that we were making here ourselves on this. Where I hope people aren't looking at these poll numbers as like a sign that people are leaving the Democratic policies or anything like that. It's just the opposite. Is people want to see them enacted even more now than ever before, and we need politicians in there that are going to give us those policies. So, what do you say we jump into what was the other ones that I wanted to look at? Yeah, this was a story I was going to play. I was going to show you this one as well, but I guess it's seemingly meaningless at this point, considering he just signed the bill. But this was here. I'll just play the beginning of this because I guess there was some like shutdown, or they put a lid on something at the White House where they kicked all the media out. And basically there was a time and period where this bill was lost, or nobody was like reporting on whether or not they received the bill. But again, now that it's been signed, I'd say that's pretty much null and void. But here's this other one that I was talking about as well, just to kind of go along those lines. Oh, thank you, Linda. I appreciate that very much. I appreciate that. And I've been really terrible with the self-promotional stuff tonight. So I appreciate you for reminding me, Linda. So anybody that's in the financial position to do so, please think about, you can up here, there's a Venmo up in the corner. You can send $1 or $2. Anything above and beyond that is totally 100% up to you. Or you can use that chat in order to send a super chat or a super sticker. You can sign up at patreon.com/BostonBrian, or just underneath me somewhere is a place to sign up for a YouTube membership. Costs about $2.99 for the month. And that is, again, just another way to join the backbone of the community of this channel, and it goes a long way in helping us stay on the air. So I appreciate you guys. Thank you everybody that's gifting. Thank you everybody that's subscribing. Thank you everybody that's liked this whole thing. It's been a run, and I very much appreciate you for supporting that. All right, let's dive into. I'll put this one on. Because this is funny. I really wanted to dive into the first couple seconds of this one, because this is, again, the first video that I've seen from one of these idiots that is basically announcing the end of Donald Trump. As you can see by the title of this, Nick Fuentes, the end of Donald Trump. And this is Purge Viral, whoever the hell that is. Again, the kid in the lower left-hand corner who has been riding Nick Fuentes pretty similarly to the way that Valhalla VFT person has been riding the coattails of Candace Owens. So you can see how they're kind of picking and choosing the side now that they want to go on as soon as they ditch Donald Trump. But yeah, check this out. Check out what he's saying, and I don't think there's any moment where he chimes in. But just listen to what Nick Fuentes is saying in this instance.
Story for tonight: this Jeffrey Epstein bill. This is huge. The big news today is that the discharge petition, which was created by Ro Khanna, the Democrat, Thomas Massie, the Republican, has finally been brought to the floor of the U.S. House and was passed almost unanimously. This is the bill that will compel the DOJ to release all the Epstein files. Today it passed unanimously. Now it goes to the U.S. Senate, where it has already been agreed upon that it will pass unanimously there as well. And then quickly it will move to the White House, where President Trump says that he will sign it. So this is an unbelievable earthquake. Because again, as I said at the beginning of the show, and we'll work through some of the timeline, President Trump has been working tirelessly and spending enormous political capital basically since he took office to prevent exactly this from happening. Ever
But
since
he's nodding his head, right? So, we all know Nick Fuentes, the self-proclaimed Nazi, the self-proclaimed Hitler lover, self-proclaimed bigot, self-proclaimed racist, self-proclaimed anti-Semite, right? It's not so much what he's saying, but it's the people that are surrounding him that used to, involve themselves with MAGA, used to fucking go out there and celebrate themselves as MAGA, now kind of leaning towards what he's saying, still calling out Donald Trump at a moment where he just signed this, or where it's passing through the House, I'm talking about when this video is made, where it's passing through the House and passing through the Senate, and Donald Trump said he was going to sign it, still more than willing to point out the fact, how willing Donald Trump was to, stand in front of these files to make sure that they didn't come out, and to, kind of, throw up the red flag and be like, what the hell has changed? right? So it's more what, showing these is more towards like these the lower creators here, not so much what Nick Fuentes is saying, but the people that are agreeing with him now kind of flowing away from Donald Trump and towards people like Nick Fuentes and towards people like Candace Owens. So that's why we need to continuously watch this. Nick Fuentes, the first person that I've seen who, again, like I said this morning, like quite literally has thrown his hat in the ring to be the next so-called Donald Trump, where instead of a red Make America Great hat again, he's got a blue America First hat that he's trying to push out there in replacement now. So again, that just goes to show where he thinks this whole MAGA movement is going, and now he kind of sees his time. He's kind of seeing that now's his time. If he doesn't kind of chase this moment now, he might not get another shot. So he's kind of going for it. The same thing with Candace Owens. She's really trying to, since Charlie Kirk died, she's really trying to take over that. That power, that base of power there, and take over the numbers that Charlie Kirk once had. So here we go. Just another minute of this, and then we'll dive into some of Donald Trump's crazy statements at that friggin' whatever it was, the financial forum, the Saudi shit. All right, here we go.
January of this year, so 10 months ago, Trump has been fighting, and he's come up with every trick. He tried to distract the people. He tried to deceive the people. He tried to bury and cover up the Epstein files, tried to stall Congress and prevent them from considering it. He threw his weight around. He used intimidation, tried to bully Republicans, his supporters.
Right. So as degenerate this bastard is, as disgusting and decrepit he is, as, egregious his thoughts and policies on how to treat human beings as they are, everything he just said about what Donald Trump has done in order to block the release of these files is 100% provably true. Like, has happened. We know it's happened. It happened in the public eye. It's been well reported on. Nothing can deny, like, there's no denying that, right? So, somehow we find ourselves in these situations where, these assholes now willing to call out Donald Trump. You almost have to be like, well, you're an asshole, you're a bigot, you're a racist. But again, that part of what you said about Donald Trump, yeah, that's just true, dude. I'm sorry, like, that's just true.
Allies to stop talking about it. He did everything, pulled out every stop. And in the end, not only did it not work, but in the final week, it looks like there was this boiling over. And in the end, not only did the bill pass, but it passed unanimously in the House and the Senate. And go figure.
Well, not unanimously because of one asshole, that asshole being Clay Higgins.
Just a week ago, you had 4 Democrats, or was it 6 or 7 Democrats?
You guys get the gist. You guys get the point of them still being more than able. Not only, it's not just the fact that Nick Fuentes went on his show to say it, but it's the fact that these other, what used to be MAGA creators, these MAGA fucking people, are now willing to make videos on that, right? They're now willing to post this on their channel and make videos about this, celebrating what Nick Fuentes said, celebrating, his going after Donald Trump. That's more the story. That's more of the tagline. And again, if there was ever a video in which we were going to get the trifecta of, hitting that Israel button for these MAGA commentators to bring up, it would have been this one, because I guarantee somewhere in there, Nick Fuentes talks about Jeffrey Epstein's involvement with Israel and Mossad, because, there's no way he can't bring it up being the anti-Semite that he is. All right, so let's dump into this one. And I don't know, at 6:13, we probably should have enough time just to kind of cover a little bit of this, just to see how crazy it is. But let me see if I can put this on the screen for you. Boom, boom, boom. Not that one. Not that one. It's going to say, what's it going to say? It's going to say President something. Where the hell is it? Oh, here it is. Oh, no, that's not it. There it is. All right, here we go. Putting it on the screen in 3, 2, 1. There we go. All right, so let's just take a 5-minute look, 10-minute look at some of this wild craziness, because I know you guys were telling me this morning and on yesterday's show that there were some crazy parts. And as this is playing, maybe I'll see if we can find any on Twitter so we don't have to deal with the nonsense in between some of the crazy parts, right? But let's just see here if we can play this. What was he talking about at this U.S.-Saudi investment forum? And then we're going to dive into We're going to dive into the Ukraine coverage after this. All right. I appreciate you guys. Make sure you hit that like button. Let's see what craziness we missed while we were live the other day. And he was speaking to, again, his best friend, his buddy, somebody that he agrees with on all things that he said, somebody he was sided with over, again, the American journalist. I fucking can't stress that enough. Over the American journalist. So not another one of the Helsinki moments, again, from Donald Trump. Another one of these Helsinki moments from Donald Trump where he doesn't believe CIA, he doesn't believe the U.S. intelligence that, came out and said, yes, it was MBS that not only, instructed and planned and sent the 15 guys to do this, but was very happy when it happened. And, we have evidence to suggest this. Donald Trump not believing that, just like he did in Helsinki, where he didn't believe the U.S. intelligence that said Vladimir Putin was directly involved in trying to interfere with our elections, right? And then Donald Trump went on to say, well, I don't know why it would be Putin. Putin said it wasn't Putin, so I kind of believe Putin. Just another one of these ridiculous and, forever moments that just are a dime a dozen now for Donald Trump that will be remembered for some time to come, where he sat next to, again, the head of the country, almost solely responsible for taking down the Twin Towers on 9/11, and the guy that was responsible for butchering and dismembering, an American journalist. So, just right online, right in line with what Donald Trump likes and who the people that he likes. So let's dive into just a little bit.
Well, thank you very much. And it's great to be here today at the U.S. Saudi Investment Forum. Great group of people. The biggest, you got the biggest in the room. But some of the most talented, maybe most importantly, the word talent, successful and innovative business leaders anywhere on the planet. Whether you have come from near or far, we're delighted to have you invest right here in the hottest country anywhere in the world. Every leader is saying the United States, we're the hottest country in the world. We're going to keep it that way too. But this has been, according to
quite literally the opposite of what almost every country leader is saying, right, at this point, unless it's a brutal dictator, an authoritarian, or somebody just ultra wealthy that's getting what they want from you, that they're just not saying that. Everybody is thoroughly embarrassed at the way that Donald Trump is running our country. Donald Trump is treating our allies, what he's done to, again, the instability on world trade. I mean, just all of that has really put a wrench in a lot of the relationships that we used to have that were pretty good around the world.
That seem to say it, and I will say it. I would never say a thing like that because I want to be very modest. I always want to be modest as I can. They say this has been the best 9 months that any president has ever had.
And they being Donald Trump says that. That's the only they person that is saying that. Donald Trump being they in that instance.
I'd say that's pretty good, right? But we've had a great.
I mean, considering that we literally just showed you that he was what was it, 20-something points below water on the economy. I'm going to say that's an outright lie that people probably shouldn't have a hard time finding out that is a lie.
Now we have to do it more than a few more times. We just have to keep it going.
Yeah, there's absolutely no shot whatsoever. I'm fucking letting that guy drone on. I just, for some reason, I've like become adverse to allowing that man to speak for a certain amount of time on the screen. So let's just see if we can dump into a couple clips. How about that? I'll save you guys and your brain cells a little trouble for the night. But this is, the world was laughing at us like we were stupid people. They're not laughing anymore. The world, we haven't stopped laughing, you stupid fat fuck. So again, that's more of the narrative put in there by the poster than it is having to do with what he said. But again, that's his lie where he says the world was laughing at us, but now they think they respect us. Goes along what we just said. Let's see if there's any more from that economic forum. I don't know if there was, because it was so overshadowed by a lot of these other news stories, mainly being the Epstein files and stuff. Let's see here. When was that? This morning or yesterday? I lose track of time so easily with all this shit. Alan Dershowitz. Looks like Chris Cuomo is just having everybody associated with the Epstein files on his show. But no, it doesn't look like there's too much coming from that economic forum. But I'm sure there was several moments in which he embarrassed the United States heavily, but was cheered on by his sycophants that were no doubtedly in the room there. Considering I think MBS came with like an entourage of 1,000 people. Did you guys hear that shit? He came with 1,000 people. Like, who the fuck travels with 1,000 people? All right, so here's another one that we could look at. Ben reposted this and said, Trump loves vaccines and masks now. Let's see what he had to say here. Let's see what he had to say.
Times, but it did. But we did a great job with all of the things that we did with the vaccines, with the so many of the drugs that we came up with, making you better. Regeneron, as an example, Regeneron was fantastic. I give them great
so wait, he's
credit
back
for
to
what
touting the vaccine? So when did that come about? I thought we were done talking about the vaccine because he knew his base hated the vaccine. So he's now back to touting the vaccine. Okay, there's a switch. Maybe in his old age he forgot that he didn't tout that anymore and that was bad with his base. Maybe that's what's going on. Maybe the dementia caught up and he's like, shit, I forget if I didn't keep saying shit about that or if I did. I'm not sure. I'm just going to go for it and see what happens. What's this one? Trump, we had some great interviews with Tucker Carlson. Oh, yeah, this was the other day. This was the other day when I was talking about it, where he went on to defend Tucker Carlson interviewing Nick Fuentes. But we're back pretty far here. So clearly not too much coming from that economic forum as far as Donald Trump's concerned. Let me check one more. Might be on Aaron's control there. Maybe he's got more of this. Let's see here. So we got Todd Blanche. More of the meeting. What's this one? We became the king of ventilators. What a time and period that was for all us. An amazing time. He's talking about the pandemic. Jesus, you guys weren't lying when you said in the chat there was some crazy moments. Here he is now touting the time of the pandemic. What?
But we did great. And then we started doing the gowns and the masks and the goggles and the ventilators. We were sending ventilators all over the world. We became the king of ventilators. But what a period of time that was for all of us. But despite that, we had the greatest economy in the history of our, we had the greatest economy in the history of the world.
What in the fuck is he talking? Does he know how much came out of our economy? Does he know how much our economy lost? Does he know how much was lost on the worldwide economy? And he's like touting that time and period. What an amazing time that was when over 1 million Americans lost their lives because of my incompetency. Because my ability to believe that it was the humidity that was going to kill COVID and nothing else. Jesus Christ. Unreal, this guy. What's this one? You can't come in, open a massive computer. Oh, yeah, this is a good one. This is another one that I wanted to bring in. The MAGA base is not happy with this one either. And this is along the lines of, we pointed out during his Laura Ingraham interview the other night where he was talking about the H-1B visas and how, that there was no talented people in this country anymore and that, we're going to have to like import talent into this country, which really kind of lit a flame under the asses of these MAGA people and really got them to call this shit out. This is along those same lines. Where he says, he's basically saying that these people, they can't come in and open a computer chip factory for billions and billions of dollars like is being done in Arizona and think you're going to hire people off an unemployment line to run it. And again, like Mel was pointing out, does he think that like skilled workers, does he think that like extremely brilliant and smart people don't get laid off and aren't like sitting around able and willing to work and could fill these positions as Americans? So here he is talking about how he's going to have to let these companies that are now building these factories bring their own workers with them. Which again, I don't know how that really goes to help create American jobs for American workers. But again, he said it out of his own mouth. Let's hear it from the horse's ass. Horse's mouth.
To bring people to get those plants opened. We want you to do that. And we want those people to teach our people how to make computer chips and how to make other things. You can't come in, and I'm explaining, you can't come in, open up a massive computer chip factory for billions and billions of dollars like is being done in Arizona and think you're going to hire people off an unemployment line to run it. They're going to have to bring thousands of people with them, and I'm going to welcome those people. Now, I love my conservative friends. I love MAGA, but this is MAGA. And those people are going to teach our people how
Make America great again by importing workers to take, again, specifically the thing that MAGA hates, which is what they say is happening, is importing people to take American jobs. Like, isn't that exactly what they say they hate? Isn't that what they're trying to like get rid this country of? Is exactly that. And you got Donald Trump talking about how there's no skilled workers in this country that could possibly fill, the jobs from these factories in the chip plants that are being built. So it's obviously these Chinese companies, wherever these companies are from, we're gonna have to bring people from their own country. And just kind of I guess they'll infiltrate the neighborhoods around there, which we have no problem with. But wouldn't JD Vance have a problem with that? Isn't that what the huge problem was with the migrants in, what was it, Ohio there? When he said they were eating, I think I have that, right? Yeah, we got that somewhere. Let me see. Remember when he said this?
Eating the dogs, the people that came in, they're eating the cats, they're eating the pets of the people that live there.
Now, that was about the Haitian migrants, right, if I'm not mistaken, and how that the population of this specific town went up by so much because of the amount of immigrants that moved. Like, wouldn't this do the same thing with these in and around these factories if you say, I don't know, brought in a large workforce of Chinese workers? Like, wouldn't that have an effect on the surrounding population? Isn't that exactly what J.D. Vance and all these other people, Peter Thiel, that's what they're trying to rid of, right? So again, fucking wait till Nick Fuentes hears this. Wait till we hear a video from Nick Fuentes. He's gonna lose his mind on this one. Lose his mind. And he still goes on. What else does he have to say?
Make computer chips, and in a short period of time, our people are going to be doing great, and those people can go home where they probably always want to be,
Yeah, that's how it's going to work. That's definitely how it's going to work. We're going to bring all these thousands of foreign workers over here. They're going to live and build lives in what they probably deem as the greatest country on earth. And then all of a sudden, they're just going to pick up and go back to China or Saudi Arabia or wherever the hell. Like, that's how it works. That's how that's going to. And then all of a sudden, these American workers are going to step in. The American workers that weren't there to begin with, but all of a sudden they're going to be there in like some time to come, some like phantom reason. Unreal, this guy. There's a bunch of these, but we don't have to go too deep into this. When I left, which was a rigged, here he goes talking about the rigged election. They used to go crazy when I say rigged election. Nobody complains anymore because now they realize it was, and it's been proven. It continues to be proven. No, the only difference now is that you're the president, and then you have the ownership of the House and the Senate. So this pretty much you can say it at will, and then we're just left to combat you in areas like this. So yeah, just a bunch of bullshit coming from that instance as well. But what do you say we dive into what the story that I've been trying to get to for some time now, which is this? We have an article to get to, and then we got a video to get to, and then there's a few other videos depicting the strikes. Why don't we do this one first? I'll do this one. I'll do this one first to kind of give us an update of what's been going on the front, and also with the strikes, the recent strikes. So let me stop this video, play this from the beginning, share this tab instead, put this on the screen. And this is an ABC News titled, Russia Strikes Ukraine as U.S. Army Secretary Arrives in Kyiv. And I think this is pretty much sending another signal, a clear sign to Donald Trump that says, hey, listen, I don't give a shit what you say. You don't control me. I'm not going to listen to you. You may think you have a hand up on me, but guess what? I have you blowing Bubba in the background. So don't forget that because as you'd think they would show some respect to the U.S. Army Secretary as he arrives in Kyiv, they did the complete and utter opposite on here. So what do you say we dive into this, get a little update on what's been going on, and then we'll dive into the scandal that people have been talking about, and then what's been going on in the area of Pokrovsk as well. So Nancy, shout out to you. I appreciate you. Let's dive into this one, which is right somewhere right here. Boom. Bang.
At least 25 people are dead and dozens injured in Ukraine after the worst attack in recent weeks. Russia launched nearly 500 drones and fired 48 missiles targeting power infrastructure in several regions, causing significant damage to civilian areas. Now
just keep the words power infrastructure in mind as we go on to talk about that that corruption scandal that we've been talking about, or meaning to talk about.
Are in place across Ukraine to preserve the energy grid. ABC News Chief Foreign Correspondent Ian Panels here with more. NATO jets even scrambled for this. What's the latest on these attacks?
Yeah, I mean, this was certainly one of the worst attacks, one of the heaviest attacks with one of the greatest tolls in terms of deaths and people injured that we've seen by Russia against Ukraine this year. I mean, Russia targeting Ukraine's energy infrastructure, but as we've seen repeatedly and increasingly, it is civilian areas that are also being
So as
hit.
Donald Trump's golfing, as Donald Trump's meeting with MBS, as he's talking at these fucking economic forums, he's putting billions of dollars in his own pockets, as what's going on, as, fucking ICE is still wreaking havoc on the streets of the United States. We still have this that we're contending with that Donald Trump hasn't said a word about, doesn't seem to care about, hasn't mentioned, hasn't done anything with the Tomahawks, doesn't seem to be putting any more pressure on Vladimir Putin, allowing him to do anything he wants, while we hear this on a nightly basis going on where Russia launches more than 450 attack drones and 48 missiles targeting power infrastructure, killing more than 25 different people. Right now, as we talk about power infrastructure and how big a problem that is right now in and around Ukraine, that kind of brings us into what we probably should have brought up before, which is this Ukraine energy sector corruption crisis, what we know so far and who is involved. This is an anti-corruption investigators alleged high-level kickback scheme involving Energoatom, which is one of the major state-owned I believe, nuclear energies, in nuclear energy body. Ukraine's National Anti-Corruption Bureau, known as NABU, said it has uncovered a high-level criminal scheme at the heart of government. It involves Ukraine's nuclear energy body, Energoatom, that runs 3 nuclear power plants, supplying Ukraine with more than half of its electricity. What is the scandal? All right, so a group of insiders allegedly received kickbacks of 10 to 15% from Energoatom's commercial partners. If these suppliers failed to pay up, they were removed from a list of approved counterparties or not reimbursed for services already given. About $100 million was received in this way, NABU says. The alleged conspiracy has old school touches. Its beneficiaries use code names such as for each other, such as Professor Carlson, Sugarman. They carried blocks of cash around Kyiv in large and unwielding bags, sometimes delivering it on foot. On one occasion, a plotter allegedly sent his wife to collect a stash of dollars, which she hid in her car. Right. So basically, this is where it kind of gets, to the direct head of power here, because the alleged organizer of the scheme is Timur Munch, right, an old friend and business partner of the Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. Munch co-founded Kvartal 95, the media production company set up by Zelensky before he went into politics. And apparently, this was, kind of similar to American politics. When Zelensky took office, he was kind of forced to relinquish power of this production company, and the person that he handed it over to was this Timur Mundic fella. Last week, he fled his apartment in Kyiv, in the government district, hours before the NABU investigators came to arrest him, escaping abroad, which is, kind of another thing that people are discussing as to how or why he was tipped off, obviously just hours before this investigation went into effect. Others alleged participants include Ukrainian's ex-deputy prime minister, Alexei Chernysov, let's see here, who is already under suspicion in a separate case, the justice minister, Herman Halutchenko, and his protege, the energy minister, Svetlana Hrunchik, who are both fired, all deny wrongdoing. At least 3 other backroom figures allegedly took part. And again, this is so big because this $100 million was supposedly supposed to have gone towards like defense structures and defenses of their energy sector, their energy, which has been a huge target, especially of late for the Russian military for these missile and drone strikes. So it's really struck a chord with the Ukrainian people here, where they've been denied this $100 million, again, of their own Ukrainian taxpayer money. It needs to be said, this is not having anything to do with, foreign aid, foreign funding of any sort like that, nor has there been any specific evidence to suggest any wrongdoing or involvement or knowledge of this, prior knowledge by the President Volodymyr Zelensky. And of course, with the trust that we have and what we've seen from his leadership, obviously the benefit of the doubt is definitely necessary in this point in time. But it's kind of difficult to get around the fact that not only it's somebody very close to him, not only was he tipped off to this, not only is it a very big deal that it's having to do with the infrastructure and the amount that was taken, but also, going back to, I believe it was either July or April law that was put in. There was a bill that they were talking about that was going to be signed in, and just at the last minute, there was a memorandum or an addendum put onto that was basically trying to put these same these anti-corruption agencies, the Anti-Corruption Bureau, under government rule. So basically, it would answer to somebody in the government, which people are now kind of pointing to. Is that something saying that the government knew of this corruption scandal beforehand, and this was them trying to kind of get a wraps on that, get a hand on that? Nothing suggesting that I've seen up until this point, but definitely questions that are being raised. And again, at a time where, you know, Russia is continuously striking the energy sector, the energy infrastructure of Ukraine, you can see how this would be, you know, a huge deal, a huge problem for the, you know, not only the Ukrainian citizens, but, you know, also, you know, the Ukrainian military in the cities that they're supposed to be protecting. But this is, again, a Preston Stewart. Preston Stewart has a good video on this because he sat down with somebody from the Kyiv Independent who has done some pretty good research and digging into this. So anything that I may have not, you know, represented correctly or any facts that I got wrong will be corrected in this video. You know, this is, again, Preston Stewart speaking directly with the editor. I don't know if it's the editor-in-chief exactly, or, you know, somebody that did the investigative reporting on this facts from the Kyiv Independent. So somebody, you know, obviously with, you know, in-depth knowledge of the players involved and in-depth knowledge of the feelings on the ground there from the Ukrainians. So just something I thought we would dive into a couple minutes of to get the sentiment, to get, you know, the feeling of what's going on, and just something we need to keep an eye on. So this could be used, obviously, as propaganda usage by the Russians. This could be used as propaganda usage by the Republicans and people that aren't allies of Ukraine, you know, to feed their rhetoric of, you know, the ongoing problem of corruption in Ukraine, which is something that has never really been denied, something that obviously has been needed to be worked on and has been in the past. So again, this obviously could be just an opportunity for Volodymyr Zelensky to step up and show his you know, great leadership again, and to say, listen, I don't care who these people are, I don't care how close to me they are, I don't care, you know, how far our relationship goes back in the past. They're going to be found, they're going to be prosecuted, and they're going to be, you know, held responsible for their crimes, and we'll you know, again, that's the leadership that needs to be shown in this moment. So let's just see if we can get into just a couple minutes of this, just to get a better feeling, a better gist of what's going on, and then we'll get an update of what's going on in the area of Pokrovsk, which has been a huge area of contention as well lately. So let's dive into this. I appreciate you guys. Hit that like button. I'm Boston Brian. This is Blunt Politics, covering a little bit of what's been going on in and around Ukraine. It's been a few shows since we've had a chance to get you know, to these stories because of what's been going on in this country with the Epstein files, with the government shutdown and everything else. So this is us just trying to kind of catch up on what's been going on. So please hit that like button. Heroyam Slava, Slava Ukraini. I appreciate you guys. So let's hit it.
So Ukraine is right now in the middle of one of their largest corruption scandals ever that appears to implicate multiple top officials, some close to President Zelensky. So to get an idea of what's happening here, we're joined today by Alexei Sorokin, the co-founder and deputy chief editor at the Kyiv Independent. We get into what's been uncovered so far, possible ties to President Zelensky, and how the Ukrainian people are responding to this news. Be sure to follow Alexei and check out his work on the subject at the links in the description. And with that, let's get to the conversation. All right, Alexei, thank you so much for taking the time, sir. There's a big story kind of coming out of Ukraine right now about a corruption scandal, and we're just trying to figure out what's going on. So thank you so much for taking the time, and just wanted to see if we could start maybe with the 10,000-foot view. What happened? What sparked everything that's going on right now?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me. This is a complicated story, even for people who are delved into anti-corruption in Ukraine for years, right? But at the premise of it is that a friend of the president is allegedly a ringleader in a corruption scheme that circumvented $100 million from Ukraine's energy companies. And if we delve into the nitty-gritty here is
so basically it's a good old-fashioned pay to play scheme, right? This is, you know, you put up so much money, that'll get you on the list to get these either government contracts if you're selling some sort of product that you think the government could have some benefit over or use in the field or whatever it may be. You're going to have to pay us on the back end. You're going to have to pay us a certain percentage, 10 to 15%, you know, however many people it may be, just to get your name on that list to be, you know, selected for these government contracts or whatever it may be, which is what they're alleged here.
It starts in July when the president wanted to take over the anti-corruption institutions in Ukraine. And that's why right now, when this whole scandal occurred, a lot of the people are looking back at July and wondering, did the president know that this corruption scandal will take place?
So that's one of the major questions, not asked by, outside journalists, but asked, being asked by the Ukrainian citizens themselves, right? So when they look back, and we reported on this at the time, because this law and the amendment that was thrown in drew some of the largest protests that had been seen in Ukraine for quite some time. And Ukraine has been, really good at banding together, giving Volodymyr Zelensky, the ability to lead their country, the trust in him to lead their country, lead them in this war. And they haven't really, gone, too heavily against any one action that has been, that has been decided upon by Zelensky. But this one really drew some backlash. This one really drew some riots and some protests from the Ukrainian citizens who did not like the fact that these, anti-corruption agencies were going to have to either report to the government or just being kind of wrapped up in the government altogether. So now this is being looked back on by the Ukrainian citizens and being like, okay, is this something that we should look at that kind of pointed us to believe that, Zelensky may have had some not involvement, but maybe some prior knowledge. And this was, again, their way to get around it. And this is all alleged, no evidence to suggest any of this, but this is just the questions that are being raised, the questions that are being posed. So I'm just relaying those to you.
Was that attack on anti-corruption institutions an attempt to save his friend? And that's the biggest question now.
Interesting. So that move, if I recall correctly, President Zelensky raised it up, but then it was voted down or overridden?
Not quite. The problem there is that the parliament was about to pass a law that had nothing to do with anti-corruption. It was about war. It was about missing people. And then suddenly a member of Zelensky's party added an amendment to the law which basically subjected anti-corruption institutions that are independent in Ukraine to being subordinate to the general prosecutor, who's a presidential appointee, right?
Right. So basically now these anti-corruption agencies would be solely responsible to answer to this general that is appointed by the president. So basically would have full, the government or Zelensky would have control basically over what these, the findings of these anti-corruption agencies, in that case, which is why the people were so outraged. As he'll either went on to explain or goes on to explain, that was what led to the reversal of that.
And so that law passed with this amendment, and the president, despite protests, signed the law into force. And then a few days in, when protests, and they were pretty large scale, especially for a country at war, where there's kind of this pact between we trust the president, we don't obstruct to not having elections. He has all the powers, but he's the commander in chief and he needs to protect Ukraine, right? And so these were the first major protests in Ukraine. And also there were calls from Brussels, from the European Union about this. And so then President backed down. He then proposed a new law that basically copied the existing norms that the anti-corruption institutions had before he signed the contentious law. And so basically in a week's time, they passed a new law that restored the independence of anti-corruption institutions.
Okay, so got it. So we'll link a bunch of your work in the description below for people that want to get more into the details of like what the actual corruption was. My understanding is essentially stealing money, right? That's the core.
Yeah. So the current situation is basically there's 8 people who are charged with corruption, bribery, and illicit enrichment. So all your favorite corruption charges.
So eight different people. He just said 8 different people implicated and charged in this.
So yeah, and the main scheme here is that Timur Mindic, I'm not going to go really deep into like the names, right? I'm just going to try to keep it simple. So, but Timur Mindic is the ringleader, and he's connected to the president because he is his longtime business partner.
So this is what we already previously explained. So I'm going to go on to Preston's next question here, because he goes on to, again, ask the same thing that I was wondering and what a lot of people are wondering. Does this kind of involve, foreign funds? I'm not sure if it's this question here, but he does go on to ask it. Check this out.
Journalistic thing here saying allegedly, but you're saying that it's on tape. This is more than just an accusation. Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think a logical question then is, you're talking about Zelensky's friend and the guy that took over his business. Are there connections or suspicions that President Zelensky might be involved?
We don't know. We know that they were definitely in contact, but I don't know if Mr. Mindic called Zelensky and say, let's be corrupt together, and then they stole money, right? The one important question here is how Mr. Mindic was able to leave the country before.
Again, another big point that we mentioned earlier. A lot of people are wondering how the hell he was able to leave the country, especially when it's not so easy to get out of that country or into that country, especially when it's at a time of war. But, he was able to leave and flee, just hours before this investigation, obviously leading to the fact that he was tipped off by, somebody.
Charged. Because according to the law enforcement, Mr. Mindic was able to leave the country like half a day before searches were initiated.
So he knew.
He was tipped off. Yeah. He was speaking to people in the Anti-Corruption Bureau. They believe that everyone involved were tipped off, and it's just Mr. Mindic who was the fastest one, and he was able to leave the country.
This might be a very short answer, but we'll see. There's, as you know, there's a lot of pushback. When there is pushback in the United States to any support for Ukraine, a lot of folks point at corruption. And there's been some pretty wild allegations of, Zelensky's 17 houses abroad and all that good stuff. Is this bucket of money that they were stealing in any way related to funding coming from other countries?
And this is a really important answer, because I'm sure this is going to be talked about. I'm sure that people are going to try to bring this up, on social media, as if it was like the money that we were sending over there and it was like stolen directly from Americans. I'm sure you'll see that at some point if you haven't already. But this is an important answer, that the person he's interviewing now gives.
US, EU, or anyone else? Okay.
This was good old corruption from Ukrainian taxpayer money.
This is good old corruption from Ukrainian taxpayer money, right?
Well, the biggest problem here is that they were actually stealing money, allegedly, from companies that wanted to do business with the state-owned company, right? So basically, for example, you have, a product that you need to sell to the state-owned energy company, right? And for you to get this deal, even if you have the best product in the world and you're definitely the person to sell it, you have to give a kickback to this group of people for you to be able to then do business with the state-owned company. So the main, on the receiving end, it was the companies that were the suppliers of goods for the state-owned company, right? And the biggest scandal here is because right now Ukraine, even we're recording this after a major attack on Kyiv, and Russia is targeting energy infrastructure. And on the tapes, those people say that, well, let's not build defense structures for energy companies because that's a waste of money.
Now, that's the big part of this, I believe, that people are really going to hop on, where, allegedly on tape, they're heard saying that, okay, let's not build, defense structures. Let's not build defenses for these, energy infrastructure areas that are so vital to, again, keeping the lights on, keeping the heat on, whatever it may be. Let's pocket that money. Let's take it for ourselves, which is something, you typically hear from, the Russian side of things, where, let's say we've talked about how they're supposed to go out and buy, 100,000 AK-74s, and basically what they'll do is they'll buy 100,000 AK-47s, which is a vastly different gun at a vastly different price, right? So then they pocket the rest of it and put it in their own pockets, and then send their their gang out there with inferior weapons. That's just an example to use in that one, whether it be tires, whether it be clothing, whether it be fucking drones or night vision goggles, whatever it be. That's kind of how it works. So, but at a time in which so many Ukrainians are now suffering through blackouts, suffering through again, no heat, no hot water. This would really, if you just think of how bad this would piss you off, right? If you found out that people in and around the government was stealing $100 million that could have gone to build defenses for these areas that are now fucking being struck on a nightly basis by Russia, it would definitely piss you off.
So they stole money that was meant to be funds for building defense structures for the energy plants that are now targeted by Russia, right? So again, that's a really, really big scandal here. We already have 2 ministers who were fired because of this. Well, they resigned. So yeah, it's a really big story.
So what's being done then? You mentioned a couple that resigned. It sounds like the investigation is ongoing. Has there been any action taken so far?
There's a lot. So the first 2 things is that the justice minister and the energy minister resigned. The interesting part is that I don't know if this is on record now. So, but apparently they were lovers, and this is actually a.
So basically, on just kind of the lowest front, the lowest common denominator here is basically that it's causing a shakeup in itself inside the government of Ukraine, which is obviously a problem, especially with you dealing with a full-on war in your country, and that's basically taking all of your energy and all of your resources to deal with in and of itself. So now having Zelensky having to deal with this bullshit in the background with people that he's close with people inside the government. Surely finding that he's going to be dealing with some backlash from the Ukrainian citizens about this story, that just kind of it adds another fucking layer onto this, and is definitely something that we need to keep our eyes on. But for the sake of time, why don't we jump into again some of the updates on what has been going on the front lines, above and beyond this scandal that has taken place. There are still actions and things going on and battles taking place on the front lines every single day. As we reported about the strikes on Kyiv and other centers that killed over 25 people overnight, there are people dying on the front lines every single day, and Donald Trump, again, not talking about it, not doing anything about it, above and beyond the recent sanctions that he put on. Again, just another slap in the face by Putin, again, striking Kyiv at a time when the army general there was in town. So yeah, let's dive into this. Let's put this on the screen here. This is from the military show, which we've watched quite a bit on this show to try to get us insights and information onto what's going on inside the front lines. And this is just titled, Putin abandons his own troops left to die in Pokrovsk. So obviously not having a great time, regardless of the area that they are been able to take. That it's costing them an arm and a leg, excuse the expression, but it's costing them far more in terms of bodies and military, their military people being killed than they are gaining territory. So let's take a look at this. We'll dive into this. And I appreciate you guys. Make sure you hit that like button. We're diving into a little bit of information, a little bit of insights into what's going on, a little bit of updates and what's going on the front lines in Ukraine, especially in and around the Pokrovsk area, which has been obviously the main theater of focus for some time now.
Push for Pokrovsk has been among the bloodiest in the entire Ukraine war, and it's Russia that is dealing with the most deaths. Thousands of its soldiers have become casualties of Putin's Pokrovsk tunnel vision, and Russia's leader seems to have no regard for the safety or well-being of those soldiers. Russia's troops are being fed to Ukraine, and if those troops don't do exactly what Putin needs them to do, he has no time for them. Putin is abandoning his own soldiers in Pokrovsk, leaving them to die once he feels they've served their purpose. That's according to a Russian soldier named Vladimir Valerievich Dulyaninov. A commander in Russia's 6th Guards tank regiment, the soldier has a terrible story to tell of being left to fend for himself for 6 days in Pokrovsk, where he only managed to survive by eating apples and tree bark. Putin's callousness has become clear to Dulyanov. And on November 15th, the German outlet Focus Online reported on a series of videos that the Russian soldier has made explaining why. Frankly, Dulyanov should have known what to expect from Russia's leader long before his unit launched an assault on Ukraine's Donetsk strongholds. One of the first things Dulyanov tells Focus Online is that he received orders from his superiors to shoot 5 of his own soldiers ahead of an operation.
Again, this is coming straight from the mouth of a Russian soldier, where the first thing he's being told is to shoot 5 of his own fucking soldiers, 5 of his own, military comrades. So just the fact that he's like shocked or somehow kind of dismayed by the fact that he was left to die in the meat grinder that has been ongoing, that has seen, countless number of Russians. What's the death toll up to? Let's see if I can look up to in the background while this is playing what the actual death toll is up to. But again, for this guy to be like amazed and astonished that he was being left to die out there is pretty fucking ridiculous at this point in time in this war.
That he refused that order, which appears to have been given because the soldiers were refusing to take part in an assault on Pokrovsk. However, Dulyanov managed to avoid carrying out the order by convincing the 5 to join his unit so they could participate in the upcoming attack together. Little did the Russian soldier know that he was likely just delaying his comrades' death sentences. When the time for the assault came, Dulyanov quickly learned that Russia's top brass had failed to provide almost anything that his forces needed to have a chance of success. The 6th Guards tank regiment had no tank support, and the supplies it took into battle were minimal. Ukraine's counterattack devastated the unit, leaving Dulyanov severely wounded, thanks to multiple shrapnel wounds and a leg injury that forced him off his feet. Any civilized country would start doing everything that it could to extract its injured soldier from the battlefield. Russia left Dulyanov to his fate. After all, there are always more soldiers to send into the Pokrovsk meat grinder. Beaten, bloodied, and battered, the Russian soldier knew that he faced a choice. He could either die where he lay or attempt to escape without his country's help. For the next 6 days, Focus Online reports, Dulyanov crawled across the Pokrovsk battlefield. His injury prevented him from walking. However, his biggest problem was something that we mentioned earlier, the complete lack of supplies. Dulyanov had some of his comrades with him, and they survived on a handful of apples and by eating tree bark whenever they could. There's no damn food or drink here. We're just chewing apples. Before that, I was eating bark. The supplies here are awful, Dulyanov says. That's hardly news for anybody who's been following Russia's mismanagement of supplies since the beginning.
So this is from the 17th. Let's see, today's the 19th, so even this is a couple days old at this point. Let's see, that's the 13th. See if I can find one. This is bigger than that one. 116, 420. This is one. Yeah, so this is more recent. So this is from the 19th. So this is from today. Let me see if I can put this on the screen here. So so we're up to what is it? 1.1 million, 1,161,230 personnel losses, another 850 there. Over 11,000 tanks, 23,000 armored combat vehicles, over 34,000 artillery systems, 1,500 MLRSs. I mean, the numbers are friggin' just staggering at this point. They're almost a friggin' joke. I mean, we thought it would be a big deal. Well, it was a big deal to us when they passed 1 million, but the Russians didn't blink an eye. Now we're already at 1.1, slowly, very rapidly closing in on 1.2 million Russian losses in this combat, in this theater since the beginning of this, which is just, again, astronomical to think. It's ridiculous to think of what the American people, how they would react, how we would react if, in this time frame, in this time period, in whatever war we were engaged in, we had this many losses, this many fucking losses to our mill. Like, it would just be, it's like incomprehensible. It just, I don't even know how you could possibly put like an emotion on it. All right, let's see if we can keep going.
Of the war. Food is often in short supply for its soldiers as Russia either attempts to cut costs or fails to push supplies to its troops in time for them to launch their ill-fated assaults. The situation is bad enough that many Russian soldiers are having to look toward alternatives to get their hands on even the most basic of supplies. That's according to the Kyiv Post, which said in a September 19th report that some of Russia's soldiers have to crowdfund for the supplies they need. Gas canisters are not issued. What we get is canned meat, grains, and cigarettes, and that's it, nothing else. The rest we have to buy with our own money.
Should we take a look at this one too? Because this was a good one. This was Hold on, let me see if I can put this on the screen for you guys too, because this is an update from a few days ago. But because of the holding on to intelligence, holding on to information for a few days in the in a war like this, as to not give away too much information too close to the strike. We're just kind of hearing about this stuff now. But let me see if I can put this on the screen for you guys, because this is another friend of the show, another fellow creator that we watch all the time to kind of get our insights into Ukraine. Artur Rehi, who is a former Estonian military service member, now obviously YouTuber, who is fighting on the side of Ukraine. I think he's done several different fundraisers. He's gone to Ukraine a bunch of different times. He's donated vehicles and cars and drones and everything, and you name it. But this is a U.S. Made ATACMS hit Russia. Voronezh military-trained site burned. So this is Ukraine using U.S.-made ATACMS in order to strike inside of Russia, something that I haven't heard about, or I didn't hear about up until this video came out. But it was kind of, I guess, kept a little closer to the chest for a little while longer than some of these other strikes have been. But let's see if we can dive in just a little bit of information into this as well.
Hello, my friends. It's Wednesday. Do you know how many S-400 Triumph anti-air defense systems were destroyed in Novorossiysk in the night between 14th November? You don't? Well, you're about to find out, because we all just found out. Satellite imagery were posted about this attack. I mean, it happened almost a week ago, but the information is just so juicy. I gotta share it with you.
And again, just to show you that,
11th of November.
I'll just kind of prove to you right now how kind of close to the chest that this was given. So this is November 13th, and I know that's probably from the 12th, but this is as of November 14th. You can see on your screen, but it didn't say that any of the MLRSs here were taken out. So you can see that it kind of wasn't reported by anybody as far as how that successful mission. But here, let's keep going.
November, Novorossiysk air defense positions, S-400 systems. Look at that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I think there's a 7th launcher somewhere on this photo, where 7 launchers were confirmed to be present at the time of the attack. What attack am I talking about? Well, of course, this one, the massive mushroom cloud that happened at the night of 13th to 14th November in the port of Novorossiysk. And
now,
by
these
the way,
videos did go out, but we did not know that it was USA-made ATACMS that were used in the attack, obviously, which is, the main story in this.
if you see an explosion like that coming from the Russian army, with the sparks flying out, usually it is a book system, anti-air book system, but in this case it's S-400s going bada boom. It looks magnificent. Depending on which angle you look at, the mushroom cloud is bigger or smaller, but look at this photo. I mean, it almost looks like a nuclear attack. Thanks to the dutiful Russian citizens of Novorossiysk, we have plenty of videos of all different angles, knowing exactly what was destroyed and what the explosions looked like. The Black Sea port of Novorossiysk of Russia is responsible.
So he goes into more
for
about the history there, but he actually does give a Pokrovsk update too. We could dive into, since we got time here. Let's see if we can dive into this.
Now we go to Pokrovsk, and my friends, Ukrainians are still holding in Pokrovsk. Their general staff reported a few days ago that they have cleared 25 square kilometers of Russians around Pokrovsk. Now here is a video of a Ukrainian fighter under a train rail cart. And I just want to watch that video with you together and listen to the sounds and see the impacts and everything, just to give you an idea what the fighting is really like. Let's watch it. FPV drone hits 15 meters ahead. Trying to shoot down the next one. And they hit all around. Can you tell the difference by the sound if it's an artillery shell or an FPV drone? Well, an FPV drone has more of a engine sound to it, although they both whistle when they dive down. The whistling is different. If you hear a few of them, you can make a difference quite clearly. See that? Phew, that was an artillery sound. That's an artillery. That's an FPV. You can hear the difference. It's quite clear. That's an artillery. That's an artillery. You can see how saturated the air is. It's artillery, it's FPV on both sides.
And this is exactly what we're hearing from like everybody that's now on the front, where it's just like the amount of drones in the sky, the amount of drones, up there buzzing around, even if you take out a couple, has just kind of it's multiplied exponentially. To a point where it's just kind of at this point it's just overwhelming, where even if you're in the position, like I said, to take out a drone. I think there was one video where I think it was a Russian soldier that managed to evade like 7 or 8 different Ukrainian FPV drones, but was unsuccessful on the 9th one. So it was like, didn't matter that he got away from them. There's going to be more. It's almost like it's almost like in World War II, where so the German tanks may have been more better engineered, more heavily equipped, better armor, thicker armor than that. But we just had more. We just had more Shermans. We just had more of our tanks. There was too many of our tanks hidden around the corner. They could take out 3 or 4 or 5, but there was always 3 or 4 more hidden around the next corner that they didn't, kind of have their eyes on, and that was the problem. And that's what's kind of, what they're facing right now, which is just like the overwhelming use of drones right now is just it's something that the people on the front just still aren't getting used to.
Everything wants to explode and eliminate you. And as we talked about Pokrovsk before, it is not unified front line. It is very fluid, very mixed up, and there are more civilians in that city right now than there are soldiers. I mean, that's a crazy fact. The city is almost destroyed. That just gives you an idea of how little soldiers there actually are in Pokrovsk. A few hundred on both sides max. Russians are sending in these small sabotage groups that, if multiplied, if there's many enough of them, they come out of their hiding places and they actually pose a threat to everybody. And Ukrainians are sending in their units to clear the basements one by one. It's like a sweeping operation. The main point is that Ukrainians are still.
This is what is actually happening, actually taking place. This is what the battle actually looks like on the front lines in Pokrovsk right now. You know what I mean?
On, and about 2-3 weeks ago it was already claimed that Ukrainians only have a few days. Not the case. They're still there and they're expanding their control if they can, unless of course Russians send in these killer robots. Look at that. Wow. I would. Yeah, I'm scared.
This is like we played the other day where Solimov was laughing at the Russian robot that fell flat on its face. And now they got this. They're really killing it in the world of robotics over there in Russia, obviously.
Look at that killing machine, man. If I'd see that in front of me in the battle, I don't know what to do. I'm not built up for this stuff to fight this robot. My friend, something strange happened yesterday, 18th of November. Russian military
that was his update there in Pokrovsk, just to kind of give you a little update on what the fighting actually looked like on that one. But let's see here. There was something else that I wanted to take a look at as well, but you guys can talk amongst yourself for a second as I find this last thing. What was it? Did we watch the Putin abandons that? Let's see here. I always lose one of these stories somehow in translation. Did we do this one at all? I think we already did this one. Let's see. Russia strikes, Putin abandons. Oh yeah, we didn't do the end of this one though. Yeah, let's dive into the rest of this one. I forgot we didn't do the rest of this one. I'll put this back on the screen. You guys can see this. All right, let's do this.
$160 to what is vaguely referred to as a company fund. The donations are supposedly voluntary, though they're really anything but. And Ulyanov says that Russia's soldiers never get to learn where that money is sent or how it is spent. Worse yet, he claims those who could testify against his superiors have been systematic.
And this is kind of fitting as we're talking about, Russia going on 1.2 million losses as far as manpower is concerned in this fight. And now talking about how, even soldiers that die on the battlefield, they're just never sure their family's ever going to get the money that they're supposed to be received. They don't even know if they're going to be picked up or scooped up off the battlefield, which is just, it's got to be a horrendous feeling knowing that, you're out there risking your life. You're out there, almost most assuredly to die, but not to be recovered. You're just going to be sitting there rotting and eaten by the fucking dogs. And next thing you know, you're going to be fertilizer for sunflowers on the fields of Ukraine. It's got to be a terrible feeling for these Russian soldiers.
Killed, which means that Russia is quite literally allowing its commanders to get away with murder as it abandons any soldiers who can't serve Putin's purpose. Dulyanov's story is one of abandonment, anger, and exploitation. But you may also believe that what he reports is an isolated case. Perhaps Russia didn't abandon this soldier to die in Pokrovsk. He may simply have slipped through the cracks, or his colleagues may have genuinely thought he was dead. There are plenty more stories about the horrors that Russia is committing against its own soldiers that back up what Dulyanov is saying. On the abandonment front alone, the evidence is piling up that Putin keeps on leaving his troops to die. Take what was happening on the Dnipro River Delta toward the end of October. On the 23rd of that month, The Independent reported that Russian troops on that delta were stuck in what the outlet calls a death zone that is patrolled constantly by Ukraine's drones. There, the soldiers starve, much as Dulyanov did, and they're resorting to drinking water straight out of the dirty Dnipro River. At least the soldiers who are surviving are doing that. Since January, 5,100 of Russia's soldiers on that delta have died.
5,000? I mean, it's just fucking, the numbers are astronomical to think of.
Them due to starvation caused by lack of supplies. There are plenty of echoes of Dulyanov's story here. And the odds are that those who are surviving on the Dnipro Delta aren't even going to be rescued or evacuated. After all, Russia has had a very bad record in that department for much of the war. In July 2024, Medusa published an article claiming that even Russian Defense Ministry doctors believe that at least some of the critically injured Russian soldiers who have died on the battlefield could have been saved if they had been given medical attention. The widespread adoption of emergency medical care has been impossible to implement in Ukraine, the doctors say, and Russian soldiers are paying the price. UNN backed this up with an article covering a report from the UK intelligence services that claims that part of the reason so many injured Russians die in Ukraine...
Yeah, did you guys see this? Before I run out of time, before I forget to show you guys this, I'll play the video because it's pretty funny what the cop says here. Let me see. Can I buy? Yeah, let's do this one. Let's do this one. Put this on the screen. So, as we've been talking about ICE and its ongoing brutality and its ongoing treatment of the American public, the American citizens. Let me see if I can stop this. So, stop play. So, this is, I don't know if you've heard this, but the latest reports of now this sex sting, this sting that is going on, that had gone on in Minnesota, has now found to have wrapped up an ICE agent, right? But that's not what's gaining headlines. What's gaining headlines is what the guy said as he was being arrested, where he thought he was kind of going to get off these crimes, where he kind of said, he pulled the whole, do you know who I am? I work for ICE. I'm an ICE agent type of thing. But this is kind of crazy. Yeah, listen to this nonsense. Oh, hold on. I should probably put the volume on, would help too. Let me put this back. Here we go. Check this out.
Guns, drugs, and some high-profile arrests in an underage sex sting in Bloomington. Police took more than a dozen men into custody, including one who works for ICE. Jonah Kaplan reports on the latest in a series of stings in Bloomington.
The chief called it Operation Creep, and he was ready for the cameras when giving props to the band Radiohead for the idea.
I'm a creep. I'm a weirdo. This is a song these guys were singing. What the hell am I doing here?
The efforts leading to the arrest of 16 men. One of them working as an auditor for U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement.
When he was arrested, he said, I'm ICE boys. Well, unfortunately for him, we locked him up, we put him in our jail. He got reappropriated to our jail.
Another, a staffer at the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency.
Maybe he'd go to work and figure out how to get that pollution out of his mind, come in here and try to mess with a 17-year-old girl.
So again, as people are being rounded up for it being sexually involved with 17-year-olds, you got Megyn Kelly out there talking about how 15-year-olds are barely legal. Let's not forget about that. So as this is going on, as this is being reported, but yeah, just to kind of give you another example as to who these ICE officers are, we talked about and reported on that video of the ICE officer that was arrested for a DUI with his own kids in the truck about 100 miles off of anywhere where he thought he was. Again, and he pulled this, I'm an ICE officer, I work for DHS, same thing that this scumbag did. So he thought that the fact that he was an ICE agent was going to get him off of this child sex, this child sex thing that they had done in Minnesota here. I don't. It just goes to show how much power they think they have in wielding that ICE badge. You know what I mean? That ICE label. Now that Donald Trump has kind of given them power and carte blanche to do whatever they choose. But just a little bit of information, just a little bit of insight as to these people. But I wasn't sure if anybody had kind of brought that to your attention as well. But let's see if there's anything. Is there anything on the old? Anything on the old? What's trending? Let's see what's trending. Anything trending right now? What's happening? Knots, Reed, Beyond the Gates, Ted Cruz. Melania Trump is doing an event. Don't have to look at that. Nothing to see here. Oh, was there more strikes? You're implying that Trump might do something they wouldn't want to uphold. What are you talking about? The protest in Lafayette Square said, can't you just shoot them in the legs? Jesus Christ. These fucking people. More from Trump here at the Economic Saudi Investment Forum. But yeah, nothing that I don't think we've missed or have to get into. So why don't we get into thanking you fabulous individuals for supporting this show? Let's hop on to the Venmo, see what you guys were kind enough to send over there. If you did, I appreciate you. Even if you didn't, I appreciate you as well. Oh, Nancy, come on. You've been fabulous today. So Nancy, thank you so much for the 20. Let's see if you put a message on there. Thank you, Brian. Your hold on. How do you say it? Now you guys got me all self-conscious on how I say this. So is it it's Oregon or Oregon? I say Oregon, right? And that's not good. You guys want me to say Oregon? So she says, thank you, Brian. Your Oregon grandma loves you. I needed this Ukraine update. Slava Ukraini. Heroyam Slava to you, Nancy. I appreciate you. And thank you so much for being involved in this community. Barry, thank you so much for the 5. Barry says, have a good Thanksgiving from Cleveland. Thank you so much, Barry. Very nice of you. Very kind of you. You as well. I hope everybody, Thanksgiving is by far, in a way, my favorite holiday. Well, I shouldn't say far in a way. It's close second is Christmas. Right up there. Okay, they're tied. Thanksgiving and Christmas. I love both of them. They're just fantastic holidays. And I wish you guys the best. And I hope you guys get to spend it with your family. Allison, thank you so much. Allison says, let's fucking go, with a lobster on there. I appreciate you, Allison. Thank you very, very much. Oh, Nancy, again from earlier, you're just amazing. Thank you very, very much. You're too kind. So thank you to all of you people. That goes for Robert as well. Linda, Damon, Victoria from a couple days ago. Thank you so much for everything that you do. And that'll get us into this. Oh, yeah. Oh, my God. I'm such an asshole. I am such an asshole. I have it sitting right here. That I meant to open up the show with. I'm not going to, you can see the first one. Condolences to Hal and his family. I meant to say that right off the jump, but I guess, it'll be just as poignant, just as meaningful if we wrap up the show on that regard. But yes, the condolences, our condolences from everybody here at Blunt Politics, from Mel, from me, from everybody in the chat, to Hal and his family, for their loss. Hal's father, I believe he posted some time ago, kind of passing us on the information to let us know that his father has passed on. So yeah, just everybody, if you could stop by Hal's Blue Sky and send some well wishes, send some happy thoughts, some good vibes, your condolences to him and his family, that would be very much appreciated. But yeah, I doubt he's watching. I'm sure him and his family are, engaged in the grieving process. So if at any point this comes across his TV or comes across his iPad or phone, Hal, we wish you the best. We're very, very, very sorry for your loss, and so incredibly impressed at the way you've handled all this, and how you've dealt with the situation, and just how much time you've spent down there taking care of your father during this difficult time. So again, Hal, from everybody here at Blunt Politics, very, very sorry for your loss, and again, our deepest condolences from everybody here. So to get that out, I apologize I didn't get that out at the beginning, but probably better off so to do it at the end, so it's probably a little bit more meaningful and stays on the minds of everybody a little bit easier. So yeah, everybody, make sure you hop into Hal's chat, hop into his Blue Sky, whenever his next show is. I'm sure we're gonna have to have some patience on that front as well. But if you go in and comment on his past episodes, his past videos, let's show a sign of support here for the people in our community during their tough time. So yeah, from everybody here to Summer to Hal to everybody involved in his family, very sorry for your loss. So yeah, thank you. So why don't we get into thanking some of you fabulous people here on YouTube that were kind enough to donate to this show here. Thank you so much for reminding me about that I already forget who did, but thank you so much for reminding me. So Mark G, let's go. Mark, Florida man in the house. Appreciate that. I hope you're not a Florida man. I hope you're not. I hope it just means you're from Florida. Please don't tell me you are a Florida man. Because I know there's a distinct difference between the two. But I appreciate you, Mark. We've loved you, loved having you here. Thank you so much for your contributions over that time, and it goes a long way in helping the channel, and it's definitely appreciated and definitely noticed. So we appreciate you very much. Goes along the line. Same thing with Candy. Thank you, Candy. Shout out to you, Trump. If Mad Libs had dementia, right? Very much so. Very much so. Even then, you probably couldn't come up with some of the shit that comes out of his mouth. Wouldn't even scrape the surface, I don't think. So, Candy, thank you so much for your kind and generous $10 there. We appreciate you very much. Nancy, not only kind enough to hit us up on Venmo, but also kind enough to gift 5 amazing people in the chat a Boston Brian membership. So, thank you, Nancy, for your time. Thank you for your energy. Thank you for everything that you do. Thank you for watching. Just right off the bat, thank you. And Mark's back. Let's go. Luma is a cray and a Nazi B2. Yeah. So again, when people that are more than willing to be in the political party of the Nazis start calling out the Nazis, they know that you can tell that means their political party is not in the best place. Because if they were in the best place, there would be no reason for Laura Luma to have to call out the racists, have to call out the Nazis in her party, right? They would just be winning. They wouldn't have to. They would just keep steamrolling along like they were in the beginning, and that would just be it. But again, she's having it and she's feeling it necessary to call out these fucking Nazis in our party, which goes to show that she sees there's some work to be done. There's some ground to be gained, and it's only going to happen if they get rid of that. I guess the fringe part of their base as it relates to Laura Luma. But thank you very much, Mark. I appreciate you, JD, as well as usual. Thank you for the 5 gifted, my man. What more can I say? I appreciate you. Thank you so much for being here every single show. Not only that, but donating every single show. Same thing with Linda Lou. Appreciate all you fabulous people gifting donations, gifting memberships is just fucking great. Oh my God. What the fuck, Dad Shoes? Let's go. Gifting 20 memberships. Let's fucking go, dude. I appreciate that. Amazing name as well. Amazing name. And you even got the correct picture on there with the white New Balances. All that's missing is the grass stains on the ring from mowing the lawn. Other than that, spot on. And I very much appreciate that. Huge contribution, huge donation of memberships. And please make sure we're thanking all of these fabulous people for gifting these memberships in the chat. Again, goes a huge, huge way in not only building this community up, but also showing YouTube that you guys care. And it's a show that should be, promoted, should be pushed out there. So Mark G, again, just a fabulous fucking individual. Same thing with Dame Dog. You guys are incredible. My deepest condolences to Hal, Sparks, and family. Amen. Absolutely. Same thing here. I second that, Dame Dog. And thank you for being here for 13 months as well. Same thing for Wes. Thanks for the Ray Bork. May he rest in grace and peace and be remembered with joy and love as it was and is and forever will be. Very nicely said. We very much appreciate you there, buddy. Thank you for the contribution. Thank you for your kind words. And again, just to kind of round it out here from everybody here at Blunt Politics, sending our condolences, sending good vibes and well wishes to Hal and everybody at his family for their loss. And thank you guys for tuning into another, again, great episode of Blunt Politics. I'm Boston Brian. I really do appreciate you guys for swinging by every single show. Be sure to catch us tomorrow, 2 p.m. on the East Coast. That's going to be 11 a.m. here on the West Coast. Make sure you hit that notification bell just in case you get busy. That'll send you a notification. Tells you when I drop a short, tells you when I drop a video, tells you when I go live. That way you can always get that notification and you don't have to remember. So we're live several times throughout the week. We're live on Sundays. We're live on Tuesdays, twice on Wednesdays, and on Thursday. So make sure you find the show that works best for you. I appreciate all of you OGs. I appreciate all of you people that have been continuously supportive of this show. You know who you are. And, I can't thank you enough. So, excuse me. Thank you so much. Let's see. Karen says, Hal, you tied us all as friends and family. Yeah, he's done a lot for this community. So, to be able to go over there and pop in and, give a sign of support. It would mean a lot, I'm sure. And yes, don't forget, thank you, Tiff, for reminding me. Anybody signed up at patreon.com/Boston Brian. before tomorrow night at the VIP level, we'll get access to the VIP Zoom. So make sure you sign up there. There are several different levels. I think the cheapest one is $5 a month. Goes a long way in helping this channel become a part of the backbone of this community. But until next time, I appreciate it. I'll see you tomorrow, 2 p.m. on the East Coast, 11 a.m. here on the West Coast for the Thursday show. And we'll see what other bullshit, what other nonsense, what other corruption we can dive into, what other Republicans and propagandists we can call out, and what other bullshit we need to sift through. So I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. Make sure you're staying safe, stay proud, stay loud, stay aggressive. Make sure you make sure you find your nearest protest, find your nearest rally. Keep your head on a swivel out there. Make sure you're staying safe. Until next time, until tomorrow, 2 p.m., I'll see you. I'm Boston Brian. This is Blunt Politics. I appreciate it. You enjoy the rest of your night. And if there's any other great creators on after me, make sure you're showing them the support that they deserve as well. And I'll catch you tomorrow. All right. Thanks, guys. Have a good one. Thank you, mods, as well. Appreciate you as always. You guys kick ass. Best mods on the planet. Best mods on the whole YouTube sphere by far, and definitely the best chat by far as well. So thank you, guys. Have a great night. I'll see you. I'm Boston Brian. What's up, Locator? What's up, Andrew? Thank you, Rocks. Thank you, Tiff. Thank you, Adam. Appreciate you, brother.
Nothing bad can happen. It can only good happen. The kidney has a very special place in the heart. It's an incredible. God bless the United States. It's a new form of vicious violation to our country. Never fight uphill, me boys. Never fight uphill. They were fighting uphill. He said, wow, that was a big mistake. He lost his great general. And they were fighting. Never fight uphill, me boys. But it was too late.
Oh, thank you, Susie. I appreciate that. Very nice of you. Take it easy, guys. I'll see you tomorrow. Hit that like on the way out. Thank you.
The big, fat, sloppy United States.
Yes, of course, hence the name. Movement, it moves a certain distance, then it stops, you see. Revolution gets its name by always coming back around in your face. You tried to kill me, you son of a bitch. Welcome to the revolution.
Army manned the airport. It ran the ramparts. It took over the airports. It did everything it had to do. What uranium is, right? This thing called nuclear weapons and other things. Like lots of things are done with uranium, including some bad things. Venezuela. Did you just see Maduro? Venezuela. Shifting production to Thailand and to Vietnam. Refer to my hands. If they're small, something else must be small.
Bad news, bad news. Even when it's good news, it's bad news.
This week it was reported that an illegal alien, and you just look at this, what's happening. For the rest of my life, I have the curse that I have little hair.